Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Real Talk Podcast. Today, we're starting a brand new series called Simple Conversation Scenarios. In each episode, we'll show you how to have short, everyday conversations, perfect for travelers, students, or anyone looking to improve their speaking skills.
Okay, let's unpack this. That moment when you realize you have to make a phone call. In English, for many people, even, if they're pretty comfortable day to day, it can still bring on that little wave of, oh no.
Yeah, a bit of dread maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if we could sort of take away that uncertainty? That's really what we're diving into today.
Precisely. Our mission here in this deep dive is basically to hand you the keys. The keys to confident English phone conversations.
Okay.
We want to equip you with the essential vocabulary, walk you through the typical flow of a call, and share some really practical tips so you can handle that phone with, well, assurance.
And this isn't just like our opinions or our 2 cents. We're drawing from a really comprehensive lesson on this exact topic.
That's right.
Think of it as us sifting through all the details to bring you the absolute essentials, from the very first hello to, navigating those tricky moments if you can't quite hear someone.
Yeah, that original lesson, it really leaves no stone unturned. It covers everything. Basic greetings, how to ask for someone.
Right.
Breaking down realistic call scenarios, giving you pronunciation pointers, preparing you for common challenges. It even touches on how culture plays a role. And the tech terms, too.
So quite a bit there.
So let's get started.
Let's do it. So at the heart of any phone call is the vocabulary, isn't it? Those basic foundational phrases. Let's start with how you even begin a conversation.
Absolutely. The most basic greeting, the one you can really rely on in almost any situation, is just hello.
Simple.
Simple. Then you have hi, which is, great for more informal chats, people you know.
Okay.
And of course, the time-specific ones. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Always useful. Shows you're paying attention to the time.
Right. Simple enough. Now, what if you're the one making the call and you need to speak to a specific person? How do you ask for them?
Okay, there are a few options here. And the level of politeness, it can subtly shift, depending on the context.
Okay.
So a more formal way might be, is name available? If you want to be a bit more polite, maybe, may I speak with name, please?
Right. The please helps.
Always. And then a slightly less formal, but still totally okay option is, can I talk to name, please?
So how do you choose?
Well, think about your relationship with the person you're calling. That often guides your choice. Like calling a potential client, you might lean towards, may I speak with?
More formal, yeah.
Exactly. But calling a teammate, maybe can I talk to, feels more natural.
That's a helpful distinction. The good nuance to think about. Now, once you've got the person you need on the line, how do you actually introduce yourself?
Well, the clearest ways are pretty straightforward. This is your name, or my name is your name.
Okay.
Both are direct, easy for the other person to get. And you'll also often hear the really useful phrase, I'm calling about.
Oh, yes. Context.
Exactly. Using this right away gives context to your call. It helps the receiver understand the purpose right from the start, shows you respect their time.
Right. Getting straight to the point. Good tip. And if you're on the other end, picking up the phone, what's the standard way to answer?
Hello, this is your name, is your standard, reliable way. Works in most situations.
Oh.
In a more informal setting, maybe if you know who's likely calling, you might hear or use, hi, this is your name calling, a little more casual.
Got it. Now, we've all had that moment. You dial a number, and it's clearly not who you intended to call. The wrong number. How do you politely navigate that?
Oh, definitely. It happens. A polite way to handle it is just to say, I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong number. Simple. Or alternatively, you could double check. Ask something like, sorry, is this number name? Both approaches are courteous. Avoid any awkwardness.
Good. And finally, wrapping up the call, bringing it to a close. What are the essential phrases for ending politely?
Well, the basics, like thank you and goodbye, are fundamental. Can't go wrong there.
Sure.
To add a bit more warmth, maybe talk to you later if it's someone you know. Or the universally polite, have a nice day.
Always a nice touch.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the foundational vocabulary covered, those key phrases. Now let's think about the overall structure, the anatomy of a typical phone call. What's the usual sequence?
Generally, yeah, it follows a pretty logical flow. First, obviously, you dial the number.
Right.
Then you wait for someone to answer. Once they do, there's the initial greeting, hello, hi, whatever it is.
Okay.
The next crucial step is identifying yourself, saying who you are. Following that, you explain why you're calling. your purpose. Then you have the main part of your conversation, the actual discussion. And finally, you end the call politely. Thank you, goodbye.
Makes sense. Dial, wait, greet, identify, state purpose, talk, end. It's a fairly standard process, really.
Very much, yeah.
Now, knowing the steps is one thing, but seeing how it all comes together in real life is another. Our source lesson gives some good examples. Common scenarios. Let's start with maybe the easiest one, calling a friend. How might that typically unfold?
Right. The example given is between John and Sarah making plans for coffee. What immediately stands out is how relaxed and informal the language is.
Okay.
Sarah answers with just hello, and John replies, "Hi, Sarah, this is John." Notice how quick it is. Then straight into what's up and making plans. Would you like to have coffee on Saturday?
Very direct.
Very direct. It's a great example of how the language just reflects that relationship. Comfortable, casual.
Right. No need for lots of formalities there. It's just friends sorting something out. Now, let's shift gears. A more formal situation, like calling to make an appointment, a doctor, a dentist. How does the language change then?
Okay, this scenario involves you calling a dental clinic and the receptionist answers, Marie Rodriguez. The language becomes noticeably more formal straight away.
How so?
You initiate with, "Hello, is this the dental clinic?" Clear and direct. Then you state your purpose politely. "I'd like to make an appointment, please."
Right. Very clear purpose.
Exactly. And the receptionist also uses more formal language, like certainly, and asks for your name. You then provide the necessary details, your name, the reason for the appointment. It really highlights how the context of the call just dictates that formality level.
Absolutely. So the setting, your relationship with the person, those are key signals for how formal you need to be. Now, the third scenario is something I think many of us can relate to. Calling customer service. When something isn't working.
Ah, yes, the customer service call. This example deals with an internet service issue. Again, being clear and concise is really crucial here.
Because they're often busy, right?
Exactly. You start by stating the reason for your call. "Hello, I'm calling about my internet service." Then explain the problem. "I'm having a problem with my internet connection."
Straightforward.
The customer service rep will likely ask for more information, and importantly, your account number. In the example, it's 567-89012. You provide that. This just underscores how important it is to have any relevant info ready before you dial.
Definitely. Saves time and hassle for everyone. Seeing these different scenarios, it really brings to life how the language adapts, the situation, the goal of the call. It all matters.
It really does.
Okay, let's move on to some really crucial communication tips and pronunciation too. Things that can help make these calls go even more smoothly.
Absolutely. This is key. One of the most important things, I'd say, is to speak slowly and clearly.
Why is that so critical?
Well, it gives the other person ample time to process what you're saying, which is especially helpful if maybe they're also a non-native speaker or if the phone connection isn't, perfect.
Makes sense.
And linked to that, it's a really good idea to be in a quiet environment, somewhere you can focus, minimize distractions, background noise.
Oh yeah, background noise can make things so much harder. What other practical advice is there?
Having essential information ready. We just talked about the account number.
Right.
But it could be a reference number, the exact name of the person you need. Having it handy saves valuable time, prevents that awkward fumbling.
Good point.
Taking notes during the call is also a really smart habit. Just jot down important info names, times, any follow-up actions needed.
Keeps things clear.
Exactly. And please don't ever hesitate to ask for clarification. If you didn't quite catch something, just say something like, "Could you repeat that?" It's perfectly fine.
All really actionable tips. And earlier you touched on pronunciation, particularly with numbers. That can sometimes be a bit of a stumbling block, can it?
Yes, numbers definitely can be tricky on the phone. A really helpful recommendation is to say numbers digit by digit.
Ah, okay. So instead of 5537.
You'd say 5537. It just significantly reduces the chances of misunderstanding, especially over a potentially unclear line.
Good tip. And names too.
Similarly, yeah. If you need to give your name or someone else's name, be prepared to spell it out clearly if needed.
Which actually leads us nicely into thinking about how to navigate those moments when things don't go quite as planned. The common challenges we might face on a call. What are some key phrases to have in your back pocket for these situations?
Right. If you find yourself not understanding something, don't be afraid to ask them to slow down. A simple, "Could you speak more slowly, please?" works wonders.
Polite and effective.
Exactly. Or if you just missed something, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a specific word or maybe a name you didn't catch, could you spell that, please? That's an essential phrase.
Definitely need that one sometimes.
Hmm.
What about bad connections?
Yes. Technology isn't always perfect. If you're dealing with a poor phone connection, phrases like, sorry, the line is not clear, or I'm having trouble hearing you are useful. Or it's just a simple check, can you hear me okay, helps address the issue directly.
Good to have those ready. And when you do need to spell your name, what's the clearest way? You mentioned spelling it out.
Yeah, the lesson really emphasizes spelling deliberately and clearly. So, for example, saying, my name is John, that's John.
Letter by letter.
Letter by letter. Or it's Maria, Maria. It just leaves no room for ambiguity, ensures the other person gets it right the first time.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the practicalities. Making the call itself, handling issues. But there are also some broader cultural things worth keeping in mind, right? It's not always the same everywhere.
Absolutely. That's a really important point. Phone call etiquette, it can vary subtly from culture to culture.
How so?
Well, what's considered perfectly normal in one place might be slightly different in another. Some cultures tend to have maybe more formal phone habits, especially initially, even with people they know, while others might be more informal right from the start.
Interesting.
But generally speaking, politeness is universal. That's always appreciated.
Good rule of thumb.
Definitely. It's also a good idea, practically, to be mindful of the time of day, especially if you're calling someone in a different country or time zone. Avoid calling very early or very late unless it's genuinely urgent.
Basic consideration, really.
It is. And interestingly, the lesson notes that in some cultures, it's becoming more common now to send a quick text first.
Oh, like, is now a good time to call?
Exactly. Just a quick message to ask if it's convenient before actually dialing. It can be seen as quite thoughtful.
That's a really insightful point. Little heads-up text can be a nice way to respect someone's time. Okay, finally, let's quickly touch on some essential tech vocabulary. The words related to phones and calling that you might encounter.
Right. These are the terms you'll hear pretty frequently. You've got mobile phone or cell phone. Same thing, basically. The handheld device most of us use daily. Then landline, that's the traditional phone, connected by wires. Less common now, but still around.
True.
A smartphone is just a mobile phone with more advanced features, apps, internet, etc. A call is the act of making or receiving that phone connection.
Okay.
A text message, written communication via phone. Voicemail, the system for leaving and receiving recorded spoken messages.
Right.
To dial means to enter the phone number. And finally, area code and country code. These are the number prefixes you need for different geographic locations.
So area code for maybe another city.
Exactly, within your country usually. And country code, if you're calling internationally. You'll need the country code, then often the area code, then the local number.
Got it. That
Yes.
covers the key tech terms. Okay, wow. We have truly taken a deep dive into the world of making phone calls in English today.
We really have.
From that initial greeting all the way through to understanding the technology involved.
We've covered a significant amount of ground, haven't we? Looking at the fundamental vocabulary, the typical steps of a call,
Those practical examples in different scenarios.
crucial communication and pronunciation tips, how to handle common challenges, those important cultural points.
And the essential tech terms, too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the big takeaway for you, our listener, listening in right now? Well, our hope, really, is that the next time you need to make a phone call in English, you'll approach it with a newfound sense of confidence, preparedness.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about how mastering these fundamental skills, these aren't minor things, they can really open up new opportunities for communication, for connection, both in your personal life and, professionally too.
Absolutely. It's not just about getting through the call. It's about effectively connecting with others. That's the goal.
Right.
And we really encourage you, actively use this knowledge. Don't shy away from it. Practice in real-world situations. Each call you make, it just builds your confidence, improves your fluency bit by bit.
And maybe consider this as a final thought. Even now, in our super digital world full of instant messages and emails, the ability to have a clear, confident phone conversation, it's still a really valuable skill.
It really is. Sometimes it's just a more direct, more personal way to connect than typing on a screen. It adds that human touch back in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new episode. See you next time.